that I'm around a little bit, you just see how much he does on a daily basis. Sometimes he's in the cage and then he's going to do his pitching work. Like there's a lot of moving parts.
メジャー最高の二塁手とも言われ、フィリーズに10年以上、ドジャースで引退までの3年間をプレーしたチェイス・アトリー氏が元 NBA のマット・バーンズ氏のポッドキャストに出演。フィリーズからドジャースへの移籍やカーショウ、大谷、キケについての知られざるエピソードを披露しました。略しましたのでご覧ください。
The trade from the Phillies to the Dodgers, you spend, what, 12 out of your 16?
Yeah.
How does that come about? I'm sure there's a conversation that was had. What were those conversations? How tough was it? Although you're going home,
right,
back to the original team that drafted you, your heart was obviously in Philly.
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I never wanted to leave Philadelphia. We had such amazing teams, a great experience. Fan base is incredible. But it was that point in time where those guys that we were just talking about slowly moving on, right? We were all getting a little bit older. So, we lose Shane, Jimmy's traded, Worth signs as a free agent somewhere else. So now that nucleus is starting to get dismantled a bit. And the organization needed some of these young guys to play. And I distinctly remember Ruben saying, "Hey, where do you want to play?" And I said, I don't want to go anywhere. And then there was one conversation. They called me into his office with John Middleton, one of the owners, and said, "Listen, we need to see what we have in some of these young players. One of them, there's a second baseman. We need to see. We just need to see. We need to figure out what we have in these guys. And we know you as a player. We think you still want to continue to win, and we don't know if we can win at this moment. But we need to figure it out. So where would you like to go play?" And still at that point, I'm like, guys, I don't want to leave, but I understand their perspective. Do I want to grow old as I'm starting my decline as a player on a team that may or may not make the playoffs, or do I want to have that experience on a team that really has a great chance of making the playoffs? So I sat down with my wife and we talked about it, and said, okay, the Dodgers. I'm going through all the teams that I think have a real chance, and not what the writers are saying. I'm going with my own eyes, doing my own homework on who really has a chance to get to the playoffs and actually win a World Series. And the Dodgers were right at the top of the list at that time. They really started putting some pieces together. So there was a few teams that called. At that point I had a no trade clause, so I needed to authorize a trade. There's a few teams that called that were interested. I just didn't really have interest in going there. One, at that point I had a young family. One, it was, not necessarily a city that I wanted to be in from a logistics standpoint. Or two, I'm not sure they had the ability to win from my perspective. And the Dodgers finally called. Howie Kendrick was a great second baseman, tweaked his hamstring, so he was going to be out for a long period of time, and they needed someone to man second base. So then now it's time to it's
getting real.
It's getting real quickly. So it took me 24 hours to really come to terms that I'm going to leave Philadelphia. But to your point, didn't want to leave, but to then go to a team that I grew up watching, that I grew up admiring, was an easy choice at that point.
The kid in you. I want to talk to Lil Chase. Play baseball in Long Beach, went to UCLA, and now you're back on your fate. You're there. You're drafted there. Don't end up going there. Now you're coming home and playing for your hometown, your favorite team. What's the kid in you feeling? Once, obviously, a lot of love for Philly. Not trying to discredit that, but going home, most likely you're going to finish here, and it's the Dodgers.
It was. Looking back at it, and I didn't really have this perspective going into it, but now looking back at it after the first probably year, as I mentioned, I'm starting to go on that downward trajectory as an athlete. I recognized it. I wasn't going to let it slow me down, but I definitely recognized it. So I wanted to figure out a way to how can I be impactful on a daily basis, even though I'm not necessarily as good of a player as I was 5 or 6 years prior. And I took a lot of pride in that because the Dodgers had some veteran guys, but also some young guys with a lot of talent. So I took a lot of pride in trying to dig in with some of these younger guys and help them maneuver, whether that was, on the field or off the field. And to Andrew's credit, he said, "Listen, we brought you over here for a reason. Obviously, we still feel like you're a good player, but also I think your leadership skills can be invaluable to us and some of our younger guys. So do whatever you think is necessary," which gave me kind of free rein on chatting with these guys and trying to help point them in the right direction. And I feel like I did an okay job at it.
You pull up to Dodger Stadium for the first time as a Dodger. What's it feel like driving to the game? You get to the parking lot. What's that first time? What did that feel like for you?
It was exciting. I met them on the road.
Okay.
So that anxious energy had already kind of subsided at the time. But yeah, I mean, I went to so many Dodger games as a kid. We obviously played against the Dodgers quite a bit, but then instead of going to the road clubhouse, you're going to the home clubhouse and walking in there for the first time. Yeah, surreal. I'm seeing guys that you admire, Clayton Kershaw, for is number one in my books. Yeah, it was a surreal feeling, but you got to eliminate that quickly because you're there to figure out a win.
Kike Hernandez, tell me a little bit about him. I know you worked with him a little bit.
Yeah, you know Kike at all?
No, I don't know him. I know him from the outside.
He's a good dude. So going back, as I was the elder statesman on the Dodgers, Kike was a young player, super talented player. Didn't really know how to go about it at that particular time. Obviously, you could see the talent, but he was kind of all over the place. And he was actually, I don't know if this was advice from someone in his camp, but he essentially started just tailing me around, following me around, whether it was in the weight room, whether it was in the video room, and he was just trying to absorb as much as he could. And he's such a character, a ton of energy, a great guy for any clubhouse. And the fact that he's a super talented player that can play any position, he's even more valuable that way. So yeah, good dude, great dude, someone that I'll forever be friends with. And now he's a young father, still having success, still with the Dodgers, and they bring him around because of his intangibles, which I mentioned.
Yasiel Puig told a story about how you mentored him, and it probably wasn't the easiest job. Talented on the field, obviously did his thing off the field a little bit, but what about him?
Yeah, again, another freak talent. But it's hard for me to kind of get on his same wavelength from his upbringing, right? He grew up in Cuba. He defected essentially to come to the United States, immediately got to the big leagues and had success, right? Which doesn't always happen. And he was one of the better players in all of baseball, just like that. But yeah, the way I looked at it is, at least the way that I went about it was, listen, I feel like I'm talented, but I need to continue to work and try to figure out ways to improve on a daily basis. That's what gave me the confidence. And Puig, again, was so talented, he didn't need to do certain things that other guys were doing. So yeah, I'd had plenty of conversations with him just to try to help him, to be honest, to try to help him get the most out of his natural ability.
Clayton Kershaw, one of the greats.
One of the greats. No, there's no doubt about it. Obviously admired him as an opposing player. I think I faced him in his first start or early in his career, and he evolved quite a bit from that first day till what he eventually turned into. So I distinctly remember going to Dodger Stadium. This wasn't the first start, but this is maybe a couple years later, and walking. They've changed it now, but back in the day, you essentially had to walk right next to the home clubhouse to get to their batting cage. And you essentially walk by their clubhouse next to their weight room, which was awkward, into this shitty little batting cage out in left field. And I saw him there. He was in a mirror, and he was just doing his wind up over and over and over again. I went down. He was doing it. Spent 20, 25 minutes in the cage. Come back. He's still doing it. And that's when a light bulb went off with me. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's no joke. He's taking it to another level of the intensity that he's putting in. And the success, man, the confidence, the work ethic. Then when I came over here, I got to see it firsthand, and it was no joke. He's there early. He's grinding in the weight room. He's very meticulous on his schedule. Between starts, you know exactly where he's going to be at certain times. You knew kind of to stay away from him the days he was starting. I remember one day early on, went to the training room to do something, and I sit on this table, and one of the trainers comes up and he goes, "Hey, just so you know, you need to get off this table in about 3 minutes because that's when Clayton's coming in to do whatever he does before the game." So I immediately got out of his way. But that was, I mean, I had a lot of respect for how he went about it.
Right.
And there's a reason he had so much success in his career. Shohei Ohtani, I mean, it's hard to even know where to begin with a guy like him. First off, I mean, you look from an offensive perspective. He's, top 2, 3, offensive threats in all of baseball, if not the most offensive threat. Teams fear him. He has the ability to hit any pitch really over the fence. The fact that he's one of the fastest players on the field as well is remarkable. So that's one aspect. There's the hitter of Shohei, top 3 hitter in all of baseball. And then you go, wait a second, he can also pitch. He's a number 1 starter on the best team in baseball. And he's a top, 3, 5 pitcher in baseball. We've never seen it before. Maybe Babe Ruth, but hard to say. I don't think we'll ever see it again, to be honest with you. It takes so much time and effort to be good at one thing, and for him to be good at 2 things at the highest level is just unimaginable. And also, I mean, to throw on the top that he's the most famous star in Japan, right? And we know how fanatical the fans are, especially in Japan. He doesn't have any downtime. I mean, he's
always has to be on.
Always has to be on, and he's got so much to do. Now that I'm around a little bit, you just see how much he does on a daily basis. Sometimes he's in the cage, and then he's going to do his pitching work. Like there's a lot of moving parts in his world, and he's able to figure them all out and have immense success. So I don't see another player being like him ever.